So I was expecting the quarterfinals to basically go along without too much of note happening. I figured that it would be Panama, Mexico, USA, Canada winning, that they'd all win decently comfortably. Not too much to write home about. It's the semifinals when things get really interesting. But Honduras, fair play to them, just threw a wrench in that massively. I have been singing the praises of Panama for ages now. Like every tournament I've made where I mention Panama in the Gold Cup, I say I think they could win this. I think that they are not outsiders at all. I legitimately think they have a shot at it. And the thing is, I stick by most of the stuff that I said. Like, I think that Panama had looked pretty good in the group stage. I think that they do have a really good team that is capable of upsetting the odds at CONCACAF. And I think that they got a squad that has looked like one of the very best in CONCACAF that could win a trophy. But that isn't going to happen this time. Sometimes tournaments go like that, and sometimes you come up against a Honduran team that knows how to play you and ends up outplaying you in the second half. Like, I could say that Honduras didn't deserve the win, but I don't think that would be true. The stats say that they were outpossessed and outshot, and yet for those last 30 minutes, Honduras really did feel like the team with the momentum, the team that looked more likely to win. So, like, I think this is absolutely earned from Honduras, and I really do got to give Honduras their flowers because I have not talked that highly of Honduras at all. They started off by losing 6-0 to Canada, and as soon as that happened, I kind of just wrote them off. I figured there wasn't much more that they were going to do at the tournament, but they have massively proved me wrong, and now they're in their first semifinal since 2013. The thing is, there was a time when Honduras actually were one of the premier nations in CONCACAF. Like 2013, that ended a run of 5 tournaments in which they made the semifinals 4 of those times. That's a really good run. They qualified for the World Cup in 2010, 2014. Like Honduras very much were one of the very biggest dogs in CONCACAF. They fallen down a little bit from that time, but they had a really good team, and they're always one of the better nations in CONCACAF. I just figured they wouldn't, do that much. They'd be good, but they weren't going to go super far. Like I'd assume Panama would fairly comfortably beat them here. But the one thing I would say is that game against Guatemala in the group stage, it showed that Panama, whilst they are very good at setting up with a defensive game plan and frustrating the bigger sides, they also themselves seem to struggle against defensive game plans. And that's what happened in the first half in the quarterfinal, where they did come into halftime with a lead off a late penalty, fairly light penalty. Like I don't know, it seemed like the guy's shirt he was getting pulled, but he also made everything out of it. Like he really sold that. And perhaps that's just, what happens when you're a smart player. You see an opportunity and you go for it because he was actually pulled. It's not like it was not a justified penalty. He just really sold the fall. And so Panama win leading, but they hadn't done too much to trouble the Honduran goalkeeper, who had a really good game. He kept him in a number of times, made some really big saves in the second half, especially. But in the first half, Panama had more of the ball, had a little bit more of the chances, weren't good chances. And so Honduras had limited Panama for the most part. They also didn't themselves look that threatening, though. And that's why I kind of figured at halftime that Panama were probably going to win like 2-0. Not the best game ever, but a controlled finish. And they're through to the next round like that. Instead, what we got was a Honduran onslaught. Like that, and the last 30 minutes when all the subs came in, and it was a substitute who ended up providing the goal. Honduras looked really threatening. There were a few times they got really close to a goal, and I was wondering like how many near misses is it gonna take before they finally get a goal. And finally they did 10 minutes from time, and they hold on for penalties. And let me tell you, this in my eyes is maybe not in terms of like on-field quality, but in terms of drama and anticipation, this is probably one of the better games of football I've watched. I really enjoyed the experience. Like I was fully on the edge of my seat come the end of the game, and so we go to penalties with all of the momentum in Honduras' favor. And again, I can't really say enough that Honduras absolutely did deserve the win they got today. They played really well. And so they went into penalties, and at that moment, I'm thinking, well, Honduras probably are going to win now because they got all the momentum. And in something like penalties, where a lot of it is going to be mental, having that momentum can go a long way. And a lot can be made of penalties. I've heard the idea that they're just like a complete toss up, and that's not entirely true. Like, you can be good at penalties, you can have good penalty takers. But it does kind of equalize things in a way that an on field thing wouldn't. I wonder if 30 more minutes of Panama Honduras might have seen Panama win, but maybe not because again Honduras were the team that looked the better side come the end of the second half, and if they had gotten another half hour with the momentum that they had, what's to say that they wouldn't have scored a go-ahead goal? Either way, it went to penalties where Mosquera had issues with going off his line. Third penalty for Panama was missed, and then Mosquera looked like he had saved the very next Honduran penalty, only for it to be revealed that he was off his line, and he absolutely was off his line. I mean, there's a lot of rules around what goalkeepers can do on penalties, and sometimes it does feel kind of rigged in favor of the attackers, the person taking the penalty. But like under the rules of football, that is off the line, so that it had to be retaken. And that time, it was a much better penalty, and Honduras take the lead. And so they win to the fifth one, and they're up. Well, it was 4-4, but if they score this, they win, and then they missed it, and I like. I couldn't believe that. I'm showing the emotion now that I had the game because this was a really fun game. Like I watched the game and thought, well, I need to talk about this because this is just so much fun. I enjoyed it so much, and that drama when he missed the penalty, oh my goodness! And then all of a sudden it's level, only for Panama to go ahead and miss the very first sudden death penalty. Honduras scores and they win. Like I just enjoyed the game so much, and a massive congratulations to Honduras. I have paid you very little attention in my talkings about the Gold Cup, and now you're in the semifinals for the first time since 2013. And what's to say they can't beat Mexico? I think Mexico will definitely be favorites, and in the second half they figured things out against Saudi Arabia and ended up winning decently comfortably in the end. Um, but like Mexico hasn't been entirely impressive this tournament. I feel like at times they haven't been at their best. I've seen a few Mexican fans say that they feel like they're getting by on like set pieces and stuff sometimes, which as an Arsenal fan, I can personally tell you that it's great to be really good at set pieces, but if that's the only bit where your goals are coming from, that is a problem. Uh, and if Mexico struggle to get goals from open play, that's an issue. Although they did get 2 goals from open play against Saudi Arabia. But the other thing is Honduras has beaten Mexico in Nations League quarterfinals recently. They won it twice, both of them in Honduras, 2-0 wins, and then they lost to the Azteca, which is a shame. But they do have a team that can beat Mexico. They've shown that they are capable of beating Mexico. The thing is, they've won in Honduras and lost in Mexico in the most recent Nations League quarterfinals where they've played them. But this is in the U.S. All the fans will probably be behind Mexico. They always have a massive support at the Gold Cup. But Honduras is capable of beating Mexico, and I really do hope that they go and win it because that would be awesome if they could make it to the Gold Cup final. I'm absolutely rooting for Honduras, and this was just a really fun game, and I really hope Honduras wins, even though I don't think it's likely, but I'd love to see it happen.